Squid Game deaths were just the start. He said killing prevented earthquakes, true crime. Before we dive in, kindly hit the subscribe button and let us know where you are watching from in the comment. It began with a body in the dirt, dressed like a TV extra, but with a message only the killer could understand. March 12, 2022. Santa Cruz County deputies responded to a call from a hiker who thought he'd stumbled on a sick Squid Game cosplay prank. The victim was lying face down near a hiking trail, wearing a green tracksuit, numbered 218, in bold white. But this wasn't a set. There were no cameras, just the stench of blood soaking into the soil, and a jagged, hand-carved line across the neck. Pinned to the victim's chest was a piece of paper. It read, "Round 2 ends when the ground stops shaking." At first, deputies thought it was a twisted fan imitation, until they found victim number 2 3 days later. He was found on a private beach near Aptos. Same uniform, green tracksuit, white sneakers, numbered 456. This time, the man's hands were bound behind his back. His face was bruised, nose broken, 2 front teeth missing, and carved into the sand with a stick. Round 3 begins soon. Stay still. The messages weren't random. They were ritualistic. Police scrambled for clues. No IDs, no phones, no wallets. Both victims were male, aged mid-30s, no visible tattoos. But what threw everyone off was their complete lack of online presence. No fingerprints in the system, no social media traces, nothing. As if they had been plucked out of nowhere, just like players in the show. Then, something strange happened. The night of the first murder, seismic equipment at UC Berkeley registered a 3.8 magnitude quake just offshore. Nothing major, but it was centered less than 10 miles from where the first body was found. Coincidence? Maybe. But when the second body was found, another quake struck, this time a 4.1, again centered within a close radius. And with that, local media latched on. Serial killer thinks he's playing Squid Game and stopping earthquakes? Detectives scoffed at the idea, until they discovered something that sent chills down their spines. The phrase, "Kill TO, save the fault line," written in permanent marker under the first victim's collar. An anonymous letter was sent to the Santa Cruz Sentinel a week later. It had no return address, no fingerprints, just 11 words typed in red ink. Herbert Mullin was right, but this time, it's not random. Detectives instantly recognized the name. Herbert Mullin had murdered 13 people in the early 1970s, claiming their deaths were sacrifices to prevent earthquakes. He believed voices told him who needed to die to release pressure from tectonic plates. Most dismissed it as delusional schizophrenia. But this new killer? He wasn't disorganized. He wasn't sloppy. He was recreating a game, and using real people to play it. On March 21st, a video was uploaded to an unlisted YouTube account with the username Seismic Watcher 91. It showed grainy footage of a man, shirtless, wearing a pig mask, pacing in front of a chalkboard. Behind him were crude drawings of earthquakes, fault lines, and human silhouettes with numbered tags. He spoke with calm precision. "The game is necessary. Earth speaks through rhythm. Blood is rhythm. Order is balance. Without players, the pressure builds. If I don't choose, the ground will." He then walked over to the chalkboard and wrote, "Next player, 067. That was the third body, found 2 days later near Big Sur. A young woman, stabbed multiple times in the abdomen, laid out neatly in a circle of red rocks. Her tracksuit said 067, just like in Squid Game. And yes, another quake hit the night she was killed, for 0.4 magnitude. Same region. The task force assigned to the murders requested consultation from forensic psychologist Dr. Reed Maver, who had studied Herbert Mullin's behaviors in depth. What he said was chilling. This killer isn't mimicking Squid Game for entertainment. He's weaponizing the aesthetic to mask a ritualistic belief system. And unlike Mullin, he doesn't seem chaotic. He's following a script, one he believes controls nature. Detectives began scanning geoseismic patterns across the Central Coast. They overlaid maps of the 3 murder locations and plotted the epicenters of the coinciding earthquakes. And then, they saw it. Perfect triangle. At each point, a victim. In the center of the triangle, a remote hunting cabin long abandoned, belonging to the family of a man who vanished 12 years ago. Name Elijah R. Kane. Kane had been a geology student at Cal Poly. Dropped out during his senior year. His final thesis draft? Human energetics and tectonic rhythm. The sacrificial fault theory. Rejected. Deemed non-academic. He disappeared the following semester. No known family. No death certificate. Detectives now believed Elijah Kane was not only alive, but had been watching and planning for over a decade. And now he'd created his own Squid Game. Only this time, there were no winners. On April 3rd, a letter was hand-delivered to a local news station. It included a photo of 5 people in green tracksuits, all blindfolded. A list of numbers: 456, 218, 067, 001, 199. A message: 5 have been played. 1 remains. Round 6 decides the fault. Attached was a piece of torn paper, a map with a location circled in red. Police rushed to the site, a small clearing near the San Andreas Fault. No body, no game board, just a freshly dug hole, and inside it a GoPro camera still recording. When they played it back, a voice whispered, "The ground trembles not because it wants to, but because no one listens. Next time you will." The GoPro footage recovered from the San Andreas clearing didn't just confirm one thing. It revealed everything investigators feared. In the video, the camera was placed inside a shallow grave, aimed upward at the sky. Wind rustled trees. Crows circled overhead. Then, footsteps. A figure approached the lens. Only their boots and voice were visible. Pressure builds. The 6th must fall before the ground takes back control. He gently placed something into the hole. A green tracksuit, numbered 001. And just like that, he walked away. No face, no fingerprints. But investigators knew now. The game wasn't a symbol. It was a system. With media hysteria growing, FBI profiler Dana Corwin revisited the Herbert Mullin case from 1972. Mullin, deeply schizophrenic, believed telepathic messages from nature demanded he kill to prevent earthquakes. His murders weren't random. They followed a deluded belief in sacrifice as geological therapy. But Elijah Kane? He wasn't hearing voices. He was scripting them. In a recovered notebook from the abandoned cabin, now confirmed to be Kane's, investigators found chilling, handwritten entries. Mullin was blind. He listened without translating. But I record. I design. I schedule the quake. I nominate the blood. Trial Book 7, Entry 14. Kane wasn't mentally ill in the traditional sense. He was methodical, controlled, and philosophically obsessed. Inside the cabin, the FBI discovered a massive corkboard covered in topographic fault line maps, intersecting with bus routes, hiking trails, evacuation zones. Pinned across it were photos of 6 people, each in a green tracksuit, each numbered like Squid Game players. 5 were already confirmed dead, but 1 photo had a red circle drawn around it. It read, Subject 001, active. Game delayed. Her name, Natalie Sykes, 28 years old. Bay Area barista, recently reported missing. And she was the last living player. Surveillance footage near Natalie's apartment showed her being followed by a man in a gray hoodie. Notably, he never approached her directly. Instead, he was seen, placing flyers with Squid Game logos near her car, slipping something into her mailbox, writing chalk symbols shaped like seismograph waves on her doorstep. She vanished 2 days later. No signs of forced entry, no broken locks, just a half-drunk bottle of soda, labeled pressure release, left on her kitchen table. Then came the live stream, April 5th, 2:14 a.m. A private YouTube link was emailed to several news stations and one reporter, Mallory Finch, who had covered the previous murders. The video opened on Natalie, blindfolded, strapped to a chair, wearing the green tracksuit. Her number, 001. Behind her was a massive countdown timer. 6 hours. A voice, disguised through audio modulation, spoke calmly. This is the final trial. The player must remain completely still until the timer ends. Any movement equals reset. Reset equals failure. Failure equals release. The screen glitched once. The countdown started ticking. To the public, it looked like a sick challenge. But to FBI profiler Dana Corwin, it was something else. She remembered one of Kane's recovered journal entries. Stillness resists tremors. The more motion in the human field, the higher the quake's demand. Still flesh equals still fault. He believed the vibration of human behavior affected tectonic stress. Each murder wasn't just a killing. It was an adjustment to a pressure equation only Kane believed in. And Natalie? She was a control variable. The live stream was traced to a broadband signal tower near Fremont. By the time agents arrived, the cabin used to transmit had been burned to the ground. Inside the ashes, melted cameras, scorched wire rigs, a charred green jacket labeled Observer 2, but no body. However, they found a camera's SD card, miraculously intact. It contained pre-recorded footage of Natalie's challenge, which meant the live stream wasn't live. Kane was ahead again. In the footage, Natalie sits silently for 5 hours, shivering, terrified, but still. Then, just 15 minutes before the 6-hour timer ends, a loud rumbling noise starts playing through speakers. It mimics an earthquake. Natalie flinches. A buzzer sounds. A robotic voice declares, "Resetting." Gas fills the room. The screen goes black. Less than 24 hours after the footage was released, a 5.9 magnitude earthquake struck the Monterey Bay region. It was the largest earthquake California had seen in 2 years. In the epicenter zone, emergency crews found something strange. A wooden mannequin, dressed in green, labeled 001, strapped to a steel chair in the middle of a field, with the message burned into the grass. She moved, so the ground did too. But there was no sign of Natalie. No blood, no body, just that message. Back in Santa Cruz, Dr. Corwin reviewed a disturbing theory. What if Natalie wasn't meant to die? What if she had been released or worse, converted? She pointed out a page in Kane's journal titled, "Participant, still equals survival. Observer, convert equals phase 2". Was Natalie now one of Kane's observers? Was she part of phase 2? Because hours later, a package arrived at Mallory Finch's news station. Inside, a green mask with the number 001 etched in silver, a VHS tape, and a handwritten note. "Thank you for watching. Phase 2 begins soon." On the VHS tape, the footage is grainy. We see a woman, not blindfolded, placing chairs in a circle. She speaks directly to the camera. They played their part. They moved. "Now I'll teach others to stay still." She pulls down her hood. It's Natalie Sykes, alive, smiling. Then she says, "The ground listens. And I do too." Static. Black screen. End tape. For more chilling true crime stories, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Natalie Sykes was no longer a missing person. She was something else now. Something the FBI had no classification for. The footage from the VHS tape was real, authenticated, time-stamped, and undeniably recent. Natalie, the last known player of the so-called Squid Game murders, wasn't just alive. She was smiling. Smiling like she understood something the rest of the world hadn't caught up with yet. Her words were haunting. They played their part. They moved. "Now I'll teach others to stay still." Investigators weren't dealing with a hostage anymore. They were dealing with a potential accomplice. Or worse, a disciple. A week later, a fourth cabin was discovered deep in the woods near Salinas, hidden beneath a canopy of redwoods. The inside was stripped bare, except for a single room lined with foam panels, a tripod, and a single metal chair. Strapped to that chair was a woman, mid-30s, unconscious but breathing. Her name, Marie Loughton. a school teacher from Stockton who had been missing for 11 days. She was wearing the same green tracksuit. Her number, 002, written on the foam panels in red marker. The game changes. Speak equals shake. Silence equals survival. Next to her was a table with a single item, a microphone connected to a seismograph. As she stirred awake, the microphone clicked on. A voice played through hidden speakers. Any sound you make is recorded. When your voice wavers, the ground listens. Choose stillness. The seismograph spiked. Marie whimpered. The machine beeped. Back at headquarters, Dr. Dana Corwin explained to agents what they were seeing. Kane wasn't just killing. He was orchestrating a psychological experiment. He believed human voice, specifically distress, triggered seismic imbalance. To Kane, fear had frequency, and silence was the cure. This new setup wasn't about obedience. It was about training. This is his school, Corwin said. Natalie has become the teacher. Found in the same cabin was a leather-bound book with Natalie's name etched into the spine. Inside were pages of reflections, diagrams, and eerie mantras. Vibration is violence. Stillness is strength. They shook because they feared. I won because I listened. It wasn't just delusion. It was indoctrination. Natalie wrote as if she had found salvation. That Kane's teachings had saved her from noise, from chaos, and she planned to pass it on. I was made to move. He taught me to be still. Now I will teach the next generation. A breakthrough came when a transient man named Leo Gutierrez came forward. He had seen Natalie exiting the Salinas woods 2 nights earlier, alone and barefoot. She looked calm, like she just left church, he told reporters. He recognized her from the news, said she was humming softly. When he approached her, she stopped, looked him in the eye, and whispered, "Be quiet. It keeps the ground from waking up." Then she walked away. Detectives returned to the cabin where Marie Lawton had been found. But now it was burned down, completely destroyed. In the ashes, they discovered a metal box. Inside, a charred microphone, an audio file on a thumb drive, and a note. She passed. The ground slept. The audio file was of Marie, silent, for 6 straight hours. Then the voice of Natalie, "You are ready." End of file. Marie was gone. Again. This time by choice. That night, another package arrived at a San Jose news station. Contained a set of blueprints for what looked like a school. Not a real one, a symbolic one. In the center of the blueprint was a name. The School of Stillness, with a countdown. Enrollment begins in 48 hours. 48 hours passed, and silence fell over California like a veil. No new murders, no new messages. But the countdown wasn't idle, it was a test. A test of whether the world would listen or move. And it moved. April 20th, at exactly 12:01 a.m., news broke that shook investigators to their core. A high school gym in San Mateo had been broken into. On the hardwood floor was a giant painted circle. 10 chairs arranged within it. Each chair had a number. And in the center, a red square marked Teacher. Pinned to the wall was a laminated printout. Trial class begins. This is the Prophet's Code. Inside a nearby locker, authorities found a spiral-bound notebook labeled Codex Kane. It was filled with mathematical equations, seismic charts, and grids overlaying California's coast. But between the science, Kane had inserted rules. Code 1. Stillness is strength. Code 2. Fear vibrates. Fear fractures. Code 3. The observer's role is to still the shaken. Code 4. 10 trials complete the cycle. Agents finally saw what this was. Not just an ideology. Not even a cult. It was a curriculum. And the killings? They were lesson plans. Leo Gutierrez, the transient who had seen Natalie, was brought back for questioning. He admitted something he hadn't before, that Natalie handed him a small black rock before she walked away. Flat, smooth, with a word etched into it. Listen. A sound engineer analyzed the rock. It had microscopic speaker nodes embedded inside. Played a low-frequency hum. barely audible, almost like a heartbeat. Kane had weaponized silence. Literally. April 22nd, San Francisco. Police received 14 reports of strangers handing out green envelopes marked SS. Inside each, a folded card with a location, date, and time. All recipients were people who had recently spoken to reporters about the Squid Game killer. Journalists, cops, podcasters, and one survivor. Each card said the same thing. Class begins. Bring silence. Or become the tremor. One of the reporters, Anna Dell, chose to go. She wired herself with a mic and GPS. She arrived at the location, an abandoned theater downtown. Inside were rows of folding chairs. 15 people sat, all wearing noise-canceling headphones. Natalie walked onto the stage. She looked at Anna directly and whispered, "You were loud, but you're here. That means you're ready." The feed cut. 2 hours later, Anna was found asleep in her car. No bruises, no trauma, but her voice was gone. She had lost the ability to speak. Permanently. That night, Natalie uploaded a video. She stood in front of a chalkboard, like a teacher. She wrote, "Trials complete. 6 out of 10. Then turned to the camera. "You can't arrest a fault line. You can only silence it." Class continues. The day after Natalie's chalkboard video, seismic activity spiked across Northern California. Not massive quakes, but tremors. Tiny, almost imperceptible shivers that shook coffee cups and rattled mirrors. For those following the case, it wasn't coincidence. It was choreography. The school of stillness was no longer a metaphor. It was moving, and the world, it was watching. A former cult deprogrammer named Marcus Reyes released a 38-minute recording. Audio only. He claimed it was from a secret session of the school. In the recording, Natalie's voice leads a room of people. They chant phrases in rhythm, in unison. The ground listens. Be still or be split. Kane was the first. We are the next. Then she asks each person to state their name, followed by their greatest fear. One woman says, "I fear being forgotten." Natalie responds, "Then shake the world in silence." Reyes ended his statement with this chilling warning. They're not scared. They're focused. It's a cult of calm. And they're growing. May 2nd. The FBI conducted a coordinated raid on 4 suspected school locations across California. A wine cellar in Sonoma, a shuttered yoga retreat in Mendocino, a school bus depot in Fresno, a soundproof warehouse in East Oakland. Every location had the same layout: 10 chairs, a red square labeled teacher, a chalkboard, but no people, only a series of numbered envelopes. Inside each, "The ground is not yours to still. You are not chosen." And one envelope, addressed specifically to Dr. Dana Corwin, read, "You shook too loudly. Now sit and listen." May 5th. At 4:32 a.m., a 6.4 magnitude earthquake hit the coast near Big Sur. No major deaths, but a massive fissure split through the forest near the original cabin where Natalie was first seen. Inside that fissure, rescue crews found something buried in a metal crate: a Squid Game mask, a speaker playing soft white noise, and a note. This was never about games. It was about patterns. The earth follows them. So do we. Security footage at a rest stop near Redding caught a woman buying water and sunflower seeds. Barefoot, green tracksuit. She looked directly into the camera, smiled, then turned away. That was the last confirmed sighting of Natalie Sykes. The date? May 6th. Herbert Mullin's birthday. The final video arrived days later. Posted anonymously. Black screen. Text only. There are no winners. Just sacrifices. Then, "The ground is quiet now. You're welcome." And Dr. Dana Corwin resigned from the FBI. She declined all interviews. The case was officially labeled as unresolved domestic terror through psychological manipulation. But the real question remains: did Kane and Natalie prevent something? Or did they cause it? Because since the final video, California hasn't had a single earthquake. Just silence. For more chilling true crime stories, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel.